Good evening. Welcome to 5 Questions with LeRoy Butler. You know, you got a pretty good rousing applause there, but I stacked the audience with family members. I was right there with you.
Oh, it works. It works.
All right.
Thank everybody for coming out. This will be fun.
Be patient with us. This is our first go at it at Potawatomi, but we want to thank them for hosting us here, and we're going to have a great time. You're going to learn a lot. And let's start with all the really tough stuff to dive into right away. And it was another pretty tough pill to swallow on the road. Another a game where you know you almost feel like it's time to bury the Packers. But what did you come away with from that loss? I mean, what more can you say about it?
Yeah, I think for the most part, most fans, they're very reactionary. You got half of the fans want to fire McCarthy today, every week. You got some fans that Aaron Rodgers can't do no wrong. It's everybody's fault. Get him more talent. I don't think those fans know that we're in the middle of the season. And most teams start to play well in November, December, when the leaves are changing and they're starting to get, you see snow on the ground and stuff like that. Yeah. But that's why it's so hard for people to understand that you're losing games that you're supposed to win. When you're 0-6 on the road, the first thing people normally say, Tom, is who do you blame? So that's why I like to do things like this, because it gives you a chance for people to kind of vent in a way, but find out what's the problem in their opinion. And a lot of people like to voice their opinions. Because I'm sure you get a lot of it on your social media.
I voice a lot of opinions myself. And that's
well, let me hear some of your opinions.
Well, first, I want to ask you this question, and then we'll examine the chances of the Packers playoffs, going to the playoffs. But I want to ask you, is the season over for all intents and purposes?
Well, mathematically, no, because history has shown us that the two teams ahead of you has not won anything for a long time, and you have. But for the most part, the Chicago Bears have sat back for a decade and watched you win a lot of games, and so has Minnesota. Now, the Packers have won out before, but at this particular time, when you have not won on the road, what's going to be encouraging with all these injuries? Because when you lose on the road, that means that your backups are playing. Yeah. Your special teamers, who normally are special teamers, they're starters now. So I would say no, if they're going to play 2 bad teams coming up, okay? And really, to be honest with you, you got 3 real bad teams that you should be able to beat.
So we're talking Arizona first,
Atlanta
and then the New York Jets.
And then you got to throw in Detroit, maybe, but Detroit beat you.
Yeah.
So
you get them at home.
You got 3 bad teams.
In the cold.
Yes.
You would count on that. That would leave you with Chicago. I think the bottom line is you have to win out.
Yes.
And everything else will take care of itself.
Yes.
But
you're going to need help too.
You're going to need a lot of help.
And that's what this game was supposed to be about. It lets Chicago know who's at the top of the division at 8-3 that there's pressure on them. But if you're Chicago, the other teams beat up on each other underneath you, it kind of works in your favor. But if the Packers could have got this game, it just brings you back to the other teams, the Washingtons, the Dallases, and those teams who are going to be on that bubble. You know, Carolina and Seattle, those are the kind of teams that you're going to have to fight for and need help.
I want to ask you a question. What do these 3 teams have in common with the Green Bay Packers? Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and Detroit.
Atlanta, Tampa Bay, and Detroit. What they have in common? Ooh.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
The same amount of wins.
Well, other than
4
that,
wins. Atlanta, Tampa Bay, Detroit. Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Well, first of all, I don't
4
smoke.
Wins.
And second of all, you would think that you'd be better than those teams because you have Aaron Rodgers. Can you still say that? Now, be honest, can you still say But we have Aaron Rodgers.
You used to be able to say that.
Yes.
I mean, if you're Atlanta, you got Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. And,
Yes.
And Tevin Coleman. And,
Calvin Ridley. They got a lot of weapons,
Ridley.
but the defense is awful.
So I don't know. But let's go into the analysis now that I've stumped you on that one.
I went to Florida State now, you know that. So it's not real hard.
You have that Florida State education, I know. That athlete's education. So one thing I wrote about this morning, and it's just puzzling to me, is how do you start games on the road so well offensively and then just completely stall? So the first 17 plays of the game, they gained 119 yards. The next 34 or 37 plays after that, they gained like 150. And how is that possible? What's going on there?
I think a lot of it has to do with philosophy, but you also have to understand that you're playing a common opponent that gets paid too, and Zimmer, their coach, is going to make some adjustments. This game is all about adjustments.
Right.
When Bakhtiari and Lane Taylor went out, the adjustment was they were going to put 6, 7 men in the box, and they were going to drop 3 and rush 4.
Right.
They're going to keep doing it. At that time, they were going to just what we call casino blitz, bring more than you could pick up. Now, Aaron Jones has gotten a lot of bad press by protection, but he did a great job of protecting.
And we'll show that in X's and O's.
Yeah, so I think the difference is teams are going blitz Aaron Rodgers from here on out, and you could not say that, in the past. You couldn't say that.
Yeah, no.
I would dare teams to ever, blitz Aaron Rodgers, but people are going to do it now.
But the part that was so puzzling was that the Vikings are a blitz team.
Yes.
And they come at you, but all of a sudden in the second half, they put both their safeties back.
Yep.
And then the Packers don't know what to do against it. I don't understand why. I mean, I know they don't have a tight end. You want a tight end who can run right up the middle. That really is key in a cover two, to be the cover two. But it's like they didn't adjust to it.
And see, you wanted to try to get Aaron Jones. They got him 17 carries, which is a lot. About 20 touches because he had about 4 or 5 catches. I think for the most part, anytime the safeties were back, they were going to run the ball.
Yeah.
If the safeties come up, they can pass, but it can't be that simple. Again, we've talked about it on this particular show. I think it's so many people that are in Aaron's ear as far as quarterbacks coach, passing coordinator. You got Joe Philbin, Mike McCarthy. Everybody with all these coaches,
probably
you would think
Devontae Adams, probably Jimmy Graham as well.
Right. Everybody wants the ball. I think that's what's hurting that offense. And not to mention the offensive line is just, if these guys can't play, it's going to be difficult. Because you threw Spriggs in at guard, you can put in McCray at guard, you put Spriggs at tackle, it's just not a good recipe.
No, Bakhtiari is probably the second best player on your team.
Right.
Or maybe third now. Maybe Devontae Adams has passed him. All right, well, let's flip on the other side.
Okay.
I thought for being a pretty beat-up defense without Kevin King, without Rashad Breeland,
Mike Daniels,
they played in the secondary probably about as well as they could.
Yes.
But when you lose Mike Daniels, you lose a huge amount of your pass rush. And boy, was that evident. They could not get close to Kirk Cousins.
Right.
You got to put pressure on that guy. So what do you do? What do you do in these next few weeks if you're not going to have Mike Daniels?
Right. And that's the thing. You needed another Kyle Factor type game, but you needed that to be Gilbert. The guys who gets the one-on-ones, those are the isolation guys. The guys who are the one-on-ones, you have to beat your guy.
Right.
Because that's what the Vikings were counting on. Everson Griffin was going to beat his guy one-on-one. And remember, Barr, who was out for 2 weeks, came back. And now these guys got their normal defensive guys back.
Yeah.
But the 1 or 2 plays, they were vulnerable when they had some injuries. Aaron Rodgers missed Devontae Adams, what we call a slug-o, a slant and go, and he missed him. That was the key. Special teams all year, Tom, has been just gives you heartburn. And the turnover with Tramon Williams is just bad timing. So those are the kind of things that always rear their ugly heads.
I think in Mike McCarthy's obituary, it's going to say, I never got a good special teams unit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been the case all through his career, and I don't know why that is. I mean, I guess it's coaching, finding the right special teams coaches.
Well, when Trevor Davis, you brought him back to be kind of the savior. Now he got hurt.
Yeah.
And then now Tremont has to go back in there.
Yeah, and you know, that's a backup player.
Yeah.
Making a bad decision to let the ball bounce in front of him.
Right.
You got to get up and catch that, don't you?
Yeah, you got to make a decision to do it. And a lot of people say, why did they put him back there? Well, he's been doing it all year.
Yeah.
Before Trevor Davis came back. So Tremont's, and the reason why Tremont was so polarizing is because, remember, he's been saying since New England, go for it, let's win, let's be aggressive. But what I like about him, he takes responsibility, and that's what it's going to take. But when you have a losing record with 5 games to go, it's hard to rally the troops.
Yeah.
But some kind of way they got to figure out to do it with all these injuries.
All right, let's talk about what they can do, what has to happen for them to win out. And I don't mean just they have to beat this team and this team. I mean, what do they have to do on the field to win these last 5 games? What has to happen?
Well, Aaron Rodgers has to be on point. He has to throw. Each quarterback he plays, he has to outperform him. You have to outperform him. Kirk Cousins in 2 games has almost 800 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And you can't throw for under 200 yards on the road. You just can't do it.
Right.
So that has to happen. So he has to outperform the next quarterback. And Aaron Jones got to get 20 carries and 5 catches. That's enough pressure right there because Devontae Adams is going to get his because no one can jam the guy. He's a special talent. But I applaud Jimmy Graham for going out there with the hurt thumb. He made a great catch down the middle. But the other guys got to step up. And the backup offensive linemen, Tom, they have to be on point or you're going to have a problem.
That is going to be a really big deal.
Yeah.
What about defensively? So maybe they get Kevin King back, maybe not. I tend to think that he has really been the missing ingredient on their team because you can do so much more when you got 3 corners as opposed to just 2.
Yeah, and I like the physicality of Alexander. I mean, he played hard, but when sometimes you feel like you're out there by yourself, you know, you can only keep that up for so long, but teams will figure you out. But if you can get King back, it's so much better when you can have a minimum of 2 cover corners that you can play some aggressive style defenses.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you can count on him because he's never available.
Right.
So they got to continue to put guys who are out there who are going to be available, and you got to move Tremont back up at corner, and hopefully these guys can stay healthy. Otherwise, you got blitz. They got to be very aggressive on all 3 phases of the game to get in. You're going to play some bad teams, so you may get a shutout here or 2, but it got to be the style in which way you do it.
That was the catch-22 for Pettin last night, was that every time he decided he was going to blitz, they just burned him on it. You know, Cousins knew exactly where it was coming from, and there was a wide open receiver, and you know, so that once that happens, you just say, well, I can't blitz, and you're pretty much dead in the water at that point.
Yeah, and that's the thing about it. You feel for a first-year coach, I thought he's been doing fantastic.
Yeah, I do too.
But the missed tackles, the misjudging of balls, lining up incorrectly, disguising. You know, there's a couple plays, if they hold the disguise, Kirk Cousins will throw it right to you.
Yeah.
I mean, he's shown that the last few weeks. You know, the guy will throw you the ball, but if you give him, you know, if he can read you out already where you're going to be, it's an easy placement. He can try to get it to Thielen or Diggs. And now for that, I mean, Kyle Rudolph caught a lot of, you know, the tight end caught a lot of passes just to keep everything moving. And that's the reason why that team is where they're going to be. But your question, what they have to do, they can't complain about it. Speak to the media. Do everything you need to do like everything is normal. If you show any panic, then yes, it's start packing up for next year.
Yeah. You know, one guy, and I just want to mention this briefly because it struck me while I was watching the game last night from the press box. I could just see it. You probably can't see it on TV, but one guy who I thought never quit during the entire game and needs to be on the field more is Antonio Morrison.
Yes.
I watched that guy, and
he's a physical presence.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of, just the old school middle linebacker that offers just that bit of physicality that you absolutely need. Sort of like Desmond Bishop. Remember Desmond Bishop?
Yep.
Sort of that type of a player. George Kuntz was sort of that
absolutely.
Kind of a player,
Yep. Yep.
So, all right.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
One other thing, Jay Kumaro. This guy is being
Could be the
people are
savior.
probably thinking he is the second coming of Ed McCaffrey, or who else can we think of? Chris Collins.
Jordy Nelson.
Jordy Nelson.
Yeah, but I tell you what,
Can he help them?
Based on preseason,
Yeah.
he was one of the best in camp.
Yeah.
If he can, they need a spark on special teams, and they need a spark on another wide receiver after the two rookies. Between EQ and Scantling, they may have hit a wall.
Yeah.
So now you don't know what J. Moore is going to do. I don't think he's going to get to that playing a lot. So there is a line of communication to activate him just in time for either no later than the Atlanta game, hopefully the Arizona game, to get a game under his belt. But he needs to get more practice time, get more continuity with Aaron Rodgers. But I would love to see him out there on special teams as a flyer and as a receiver.
When you guys were in the hardest of times in the 90s, and that really wasn't very often, what did you say to young players about situations like this where you have to win? Like maybe even when you got to the playoffs, and you go, okay, we can't lose. Don't worry about tiebreakers, all that kind of stuff. What do you tell a young guy about a stretch like this?
Yeah, that's a good question, because we did it because we would tell anything the head coach's message was. Fritz Shermer or Mike Holmgren, we facilitated that to everybody in the locker room. It was the same message. You got to make sure everybody's bought in at this point, because you remember, when you get into the playoff or fight for a playoff, only certain teams are fighting for that. And you let these guys know we're one of the few teams, because they got 6 teams that get in, we're one of the few teams that's getting one of these spots.
Yeah.
So you got to ratchet it up, because most of these guys are used to bowl games, and they're going home. They're not used to this. Yeah. Right, they're done.
Pack up the car.
So you let them know this, it's a full job, but I want to bring the message down from the head coach. Whatever the head coach says, I emphasizes it, just one voice, and everybody seems to be on the same page.
Yeah, and I want you to tell these people, too, that because you've told me a million times, and I remember it as well, how many team meetings did Reggie White call during the course of
the players-only meetings, I'm glad it wasn't social media, put it that way. It was very animated, but here's your chance to really call out a player who you thought was loafing, and then him and Wayne Simmons, who actually used to go after each other, almost like fighting. But when we left that room, everybody was on the same page. And the only way we were going to win is when you swipe your key card, it turns green. Everybody is in the building. Leave your problems outside. Right. Now, if you swipe your key card, it turns red, you go see HR, you just been cut. But the players-only meetings are something that needed to happen at times. And you can tell teams who've had them, because you see different guys going to another level.
Yeah.
You really see it, because it's different when a coach calls you out, because he can lead a room. When a guy calls you out, a teammate, he stays in the room.
Yeah.
So it's accountability to make a guy step his game up.
I remember them doing that during the 2010 season, and part of the criticism was aimed at Aaron Rodgers at the time. He was still a young quarterback.
Yep.
And the T.J. Langs and Josh Sittons and guys like that
Yep.
We're telling them, you know, you got to carry your weight,
Yep.
you know, and
Yep.
I don't know if they're going to do that again, but anyway, all right, so it's time. Watch out for the football. Do we still get the football, Bill?
Hey, man, Bill got all kind of talent.
Watch out.
Now, I don't think this will be a surprise, right?
It's prediction time.
That the Packers need to win this game.
Right.
But I just agree on how do you win it? The Packers must win. They got to score 30 points every week out, and I think they can win the rest of their games. Anything under 30 points, they're going to probably be in a dogfight or lose. Now, remember, Arizona was up 10-0 on the Phillip Rivers and the guys.
Yeah, San Diego.
LA. It's not just San Diego, LA. And they flipped the switch and was able to blow them out. But Arizona, they're good against the pass, so I'm sure they'll play a lot of coverage. But I think the Green Bay Packers will beat them. There has to be at least 30 points. And the defense, they can't give up. What was my score, Bill? What was my score? 30-17. They can't give up more than 17 points.
All right.
Yeah, because if you're trying to get in the playoffs, if you're giving up more than 17
to a rookie quarterback,
I know, but hey, listen,
you can't.
San Francisco came in the Packers and played with a backup. Okay, anything can happen.
Yeah,
you're not going to play a lot of great quarterbacks other than Matt Ryan and maybe Matthew Stafford, but 30-17, the Packers should win.
All right. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for 5 questions.
Yeah.
Don't forget to join us for X's and O's. And if you're not here now, you should come down to Potawatomi and see us live next week.
Yeah, next week,
Monday
same
we'll
time.
be here again, and the Monday after that, and the Monday after that. So thanks for joining us, and don't forget to check in with X's and O's.